Now, what do these people in the screen have in common? Former House of Commons leader Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg on the left there, and Tory MPs Esther McVeigh and Philip Davis. They're all politicians, yes, but they've also all presented shows on GB News. And today, Ofcom has said that their programmes broke impartiality rules.
Lots of people have been in touch with me to ask me what I think of Ofcom's ruling against GB News and against me for a couple of programmes I presented. Well, for once, I'm going to criticise people who are old-fashioned. Normally being old-fashioned is great.
What a surprise! Mogg taking a view that's counter to his usual position when it suits him.
But I fear Ofcom thinks the news is still being presented by Alva Liddell, a BBC news presenter from the middle of the 20th century, who was authoritative and clear and was the only voice of news. That world's gone.
So what is this all about? Well, let's go back in time to SNP MP John Nicholson at a committee meeting questioning Ofcom about why Jacob Rees-Mogg seems able to present a news programme on GB News going against Ofcom rules and regulations.
Can I begin with you, Ms Davis, please? Now, I understand that Ofcom is investigating one episode of Jacob Rees-Mogg's programme.
So very quickly, here's the intro to that programme.
We said we'd bring some updates about the Donald Trump civil case. The jury, deliberating in the rape trial of Donald Trump, has found the former US president not guilty of the rape charges made against him.
Why only one?
So we set out yesterday that we are investigating one programme on GB News and one on Talk TV, in addition to the ongoing investigation we have in relation to GB News. We look at every single complaint in the same way, either individual complaint or multiple complaints, and we look at them in relation to our rules and take a decision on whether to investigate or not.
Because the problem, of course, with Jacob Rees-Mogg's programme isn't a single episode. It's the ongoing nature of the programme.
Nicholson will fill in some more details in a moment, but first, here are Ofcom guidelines detailing politicians being on news programmes. News content. Because audiences expect broadcasters to apply the highest level of due impartiality to news programmes such as news bulletins, our rules state no politician may be used as a newsreader, interviewer or reporter in any news programmes unless, exceptionally, it is editorial justified. In that case, the political allegiance of that person must be made clear to the audience. And here's the other one. Non-news content. However, outside of news programmes, there is no Ofcom rule that prevents a serving politician or political candidate from hosting or appearing on a TV or radio show, provided that they aren't standing in an election taking place or about to take place. This means that politicians are allowed to present current affairs programmes such as audience phone-ins, but they must make sure a range of views are reflected in their programme.
I'm now joined by the US midterm Republican candidate for Arizona and supporter of Mr Trump, Carrie Lake, and our very own Nigel Farage. Carrie, thank you so much for coming in.
This programme broke the rules because there was absolutely no sign of balance in the invited guests. No one with a different view was present to add a counterpoint. All they had was right-wing nutjob Carrie Lake and right-wing grifter Nigel Farage.
And this is what your press release said. We're investigating whether this programme broke our rules.
But tell me, what does this mean for the Republican Party? What's it mean for Mr Trump's presidential hopes?
Well, I think people who are following politics in America know they're seeing what's happening. They're trying to line up as many lawsuits as they can against President Trump. This is part of what has now gone on for 8 years, a barrage of negativity.
But of course, that's not what your rules say at all. What your rules actually say is no politician may be used as a newsreader, interviewer or reporter in any news programme unless exceptionally it is editorially justified. Now, there's a bit of spin going on there from Ofcom, I feel. Your press release said that politicians couldn't act as newsreaders.
So obviously Nicholson here is claiming that all of Mogg's programmes break the rules. So let's get back to Jacob here to see how he feels about Ofcom's ruling that his GB News programme did in fact breach impartiality.
We now have presenters who aren't the trusted voice of authority. We have people from the BBC who go off to present left-wing podcasts. We have people from the BBC like Hugh Edwards, who aren't as respected as perhaps you might hope they ought to be. And Channel 4 News is a left-wing outlet. Everyone knows that. I loved being interviewed by Jon Snow. I think very highly of him, but no one could pretend that he's a Tory. Indeed, I think if I suggested he were, he'd sue me. So Ofcom is simply out of date.
Oh, of course he'd say that. Click here for a fireside chat with Mogg.